Hi, hey, glad you're here, because I want to talk about Dalton Chrono Trigger, who sucks real bad, but is also great. But to discuss why I want to see this great character get Falcon punched in the groin, I first need to talk about Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is a story about a bunch of kids who discover the world is ending and decide to do something about it.
No.
From that alone, you can say that it is designed on optimism, I think, but it goes further than just the premise. I mentioned this in my retrospective because the impact that you, the player, and by extension the party, has on the world of Chrono Trigger is almost always positive. It is not a matter of what you do or how you do it. What matters is that you do it at all. Anyway, that the world of Chrono Trigger appears to be optimistic puts villains in a position to be clearly antagonistic rather than conflicted, with any nuance designed to imply depth and detail rather than an excuse. They may have additional lore, but they are exactly what you think they are. They are cool, watchable, and enjoyable villains. Lavos is a highly destructive creature, featuring awe-inspiring acts of destruction, and imposes a threat upon the world the same way I am a threat to Lecheflan.
Nice.
Queen Zeal is mad. She is mad now, and she's not mad without power. She's got the magical potency to back up her insanity.
Hiya, darling.
She's here for immortality, and she will kill her kids to get it, if she remembered that she had any.
Fuck them kids.
Even good old Yakura is just here to take over a kingdom, I think. Do we know why he wants to do it? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. This isn't that kind of game. At most, there is Magus, who is a bad guy, but not a bad guy. But I mean, come on, he still messed up Cyrus real bad.
Stop! He's already dead.
Then joined the war on Guardia on the side of the monsters. And maybe I missed it, but he doesn't really seem that sorry. But much like holding two knives, these antagonists and villains are very fun.
I gotta tell you, this is pretty terrific. Yeah.
Queen Zeal commands a kingdom and the attention of fashionistas. Lavos is a primal creature, one beyond humanity's understanding. If it had thoughts, we can only observe them through implication. If it has emotions, those emotions are not for us to understand. Magus is Piccolo with less melanin and more hair. Yes, I know Piccolo is green. Even Yakura is respectable in a way. He's got generational trauma in that he is gonna use his Yakura generations to inflict trauma on you. Then there's Dalton. Dalton. My man Dalton is an embarrassment. Like, I'd back him up, but, I'd put on a mask so people don't see that I'm his hype man. And he is apparently worthy of hype because he was the right hand of Queen Zeal and was respected enough to lead loyal troops. But no one, and absolutely no one, is actually surprised that he immediately got dropped for the aura farming Magus. Because if there was someone who couldn't roll charisma well, I don't care how much lightning Zeus throws at me. It's Dalton. He can't roll charisma well. Like, in universe, he can clearly lead and has command and leadership, but I don't think he gets invited to a lot of parties because charisma isn't just about the intangible traits, it's also about the tangibles, the things you can touch and play with. Like his minions, the golems, which are suspicious looking at best. They are bosses you encounter twice throughout the game, once solo that you are probably meant to lose, and once in a duo. The attacks the golems use are based on the last element you used, so smart players will wear armor that absorbs the elements they wield. I did not do that. I simply kept pressing buttons until they died. The clever mechanic fears the button-mashing child. So the golems are okay mechanically, but it's really the look of them that gave me pause. Look at that charming color, those spikes that look like undigested cornettos, the bumps and streaks that evoke no specific image until you get into a fight with Dalton. Which is certainly one of the fights of all time. After pressing enough buttons, he is beaten, and he ends the encounter with a specific disgusting and smell-based move. That's right, he burps at you. I don't think I want to befriend the Will of the Wind anymore. And then I thought about it, and the puzzle pieces are put together. Suddenly the golem provokes the picture of puke, or poop that pushed up the wrong pipe. Cornettos and all, and it's a lot of things, but one thing it isn't is cool. Totally, that entire realization was jarring. The tone of the story had taken a dark and urgent turn, and then Fart Master McGee is here with his gross and frustrating imagery. Frustrating because when I gave it a little more thought, the idea grew. But Dalton might actually be more dangerous than Lavos. So, Dalton in the story is critical in a background kind of way. That is because he is a shockingly effective, if not the most effective, villain in the game, while simultaneously not being a primary antagonist. He forces the heroes to take suboptimal moves. Every other villain in the game basically fights you honestly, straight up. For example, when the party first arrives, he is there, defending the royal court with a golem, something that results in the team's capture whether or not the golem is beaten. Then, the time team frees Melchior and triggers Shala's outright rebellion against Queen Zeal, a rebellion that is instantly quashed by Dalton, who fireballs an old man and gives a little kid the backhanding of a lifetime. Seriously, look at that airtime. Later on, instead of fighting you head on, he tries to shoot you with a flying egg. The flying egg has guns. He is not shooting you with omelets.
These are the jokes.
He also pulls a "look over there," which works, frustratingly so, given the stakes and the tone of the game at the moment, which leads to the time team's capture. Dalton doesn't play fair. He has loyal troops, and he can beat you with farts and undigested food. Man, how are we losing to this free? Okay, I know how. It just feels really bad. Look, Magus could have stopped you long before you got the Masamune, but you end up fighting him fair and square, head on. Your entire journey to fight Lavos was about looking for him at his weakest so you can destroy him efficiently, and he doesn't really pay attention to you, because why would a farmer fear the chicken? Even Queen Zeal fights you head on only after you go through her dungeon and barely notices you exist. The one time she does pay attention to you, she and Lavos deal you a beating depressed orphans would dream of. Dalton represents a contrast. Dalton takes quick and efficient steps. He's not really in it to be cool. Mr. D wants results, damn it, and if the results come from burping at his enemies, he's gonna do it. History is written by the victors, and he's gonna do anything to win. Which, oh my god, kinda sounds like he's gonna be one of those cool characters, but he's really not. As we've discussed, absolutely nothing about him is cool. Color scheme is ass, face is ass, final attack is ass. To mouth.
Not samurai.
That's not even the biggest thing he's done. I think more importantly, this burping baddie does something that was unheard of for little old child me, because the last time you see him, pre-remakes and added content, is him vanishing. That's right, little burp master bounces boiling mad into the void, which leads to him becoming a super boss, but I get ahead of myself 30 years ago. When I got to that point in the game as a little old child, I forgot about him after beating him, and then went on to finish the game repeatedly in an effort to suck out all the dopamine out of it, even though that was a word I did not know at the time. Then Chrono Cross comes out. It's been a while since I played it, but I distinctly remember when the 1080 gang shows up and really does not like what's happening because Cross is a way more cynical game than Trigger. And then PS1 Chrono Trigger comes out with a new thing, a FMV, The Fall of Guardia, which already wrecked my soul because Luminaire, Rainbow, I have all the tools. How can poor attack Guardia and succeed? I didn't play the DS version of Chrono Trigger, which had more detail and world building, but I would have.
If I had one!
But I didn't. All I had was my imagination, autism, and the internet, so I learned about stuff that was in the DS version, such as Dalton ultimately being part of what made Poor powerful for whatever reason, and is either directly or indirectly super responsible for them attacking Guardia and implying a bad ending for the heroes of Trigger. The same guys who traveled through time and found a cosmic creature's weakest moment so that they could save a day that they would not live to see. Those heroes lost to a burping fuck who gave their neighbors, I don't know, future guns, which is a lot of sentences for me to come up back to. How are we losing to this gastrointestinal hazard all over again? Listen, you need to understand. Listen, the 90s were the era of super cool bad guys. Albert, Shades at Night Wesker, silver-haired Sephiroth, Kafka, the one that won, Palazzo. But Dalton is just this scum, this horrible creature who somehow also improved your time machine by giving it wings. So the name Wings of Time actually fits. You actually owe much of your success in the game to his ass, because the Epoch with wings lets you reach places the party would have tremendous difficulty reaching otherwise, if at all. Him, Dalton, the Burp Master General. He's got no hype moments, no theme music signifying his importance. What I'm trying to say is Dalton is a grinder. He's gonna get the job done, but he's not gonna look good doing it, which is something we'll get back to later. Because I want to focus on how frustrating it is that he exists in such a way, because he's so much better as an antagonist in a practical sense. The villains in Chrono Trigger don't really have tricks. Lavos arguably only has one, mostly because he didn't really need to make tricks against the meat. And that trick is to simply not be the biggest thing that looks like a boss. He's just the bit over on the right, his left. But Dalton, no. He's gonna send as many kids into orbit as it takes. But he sucks so bad. But he's so good at being a villain. But he's great because he sucks so bad. Look, cool villains are important because if a villain is too repulsive, the story becomes not fun or enjoyable. Think of Magus in Chrono Trigger and how his callous murder of Cyrus and casual cursing of Glenn could repulse people if it were given more detail, literally and visually. Focusing on those details might be more accurate to the idea of a real-life villain, but they do not really serve the purpose of an antagonist in a story, you know what I mean? Think about Mortal Kombat and its fatalities. They're not made to be completely realistic, obviously. They're meant to be entertaining. Being beholden to reality means adding realistic death screams, people begging for their lives, mentioning loved ones. That can be fun, but man, I don't think that's the kind of experience or stress people are usually looking for in a Mortal Kombat game, you dig? Of course you do, you're a smart fella, you're not a fart smeller. Villains aren't real things, they're made up for a purpose. Characters in the story are made up for a purpose to make you think or feel a certain way, to fit a feint or to highlight something. And achieving that goal doesn't require them to be realistic, not entirely. It does require them to be readable or enjoyable though, because if you cannot engage with the story, because the villain is just too much for you, there's nothing the story could possibly do to and for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some villains are just too much for certain people. But if like the majority of your target audience for that story is like, oh, I don't want to read about this, well, something went terribly wrong. Dalton is special to me because he balances on that beautiful line of repulsive and yet effective in story. He presents a very real, very deadly threat and makes good in his threat in the post-game. But Dalton is simultaneously seemingly designed to resist fandom and basic respect by being reprehensible, having ugly goons, and a final attack that is basically weaponized GERD, which makes him kind of unlikable for the most part. But the thing is, he is unlikable, but still watchable and enjoyable. And I feel like there's a lot of villains that are just like too cool, even as they do completely terrible things, which is kind of a mess in some ways. Look, the point is, Dalton does not take away from the experience in his unlikability and lack of cool. He improves upon it just by being a gross villain, and I feel like I wanted to appreciate that. It's super refreshing. He's not designed to be loved or adored or to become merchandise. He is a gross villain, and that is all he is, and that's great. Thanks for passing by. Truly appreciate it. I'm Patinator. You know what to do. I'll see you later.